Katie Owashi. I'm the STEM Center Coordinator.
And my name is Oscar Escobar. I'm the Education Advisor for STEM. Nice to meet you all.
And then we also have Professor Navis here with us today, our faculty liaison.
Yeah, hi, Ms. Navis. I also go by Adam. Teach math.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for joining us today. We're really excited to give you the opportunity to kind of explore what kind of careers are open to you in computer science specifically. I wanted to start with a little bit of a disclaimer that some of you might already have like a path that you're excited to be on, you know a little bit about that. So this is going to be more about like exploring your options, kind of figuring out what different careers are available to you. And we'll talk about some different careers and kind of the qualifications that are required to get into those careers. And then I'll end by talking a little bit about like, how can I get started on the path towards my career? So we'll go ahead and jump in with, where do I start? So Oscar is gonna talk a little bit about how you can explore careers in the field of computer science.
So hi, also, I'm hoping everybody's having a good day. So let's start off with ONET. So these are one of the places where we can definitely start as students, right? We wanna explore careers here on ONET Online. It's a database, and it's a database where you can find information on the labor market regarding the career. So for example, computer science, you can type in computer science, you might get stuff that goes under computer information technology, and it'll give you the job description, it'll give you the wages, the benefits of the career. It also gives you what kind of outlook it is, if it's something that's growing in the field or something that's slow or stagnant. It gives you the education and the training required for the major. And again, I already talked about the job outlook and the growth projections. So that's one area we can definitely look at when we're exploring careers. And I'm going to go on to the next slide, and I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like. So for example, here, so what is ONET, right? It's a hub for career exploration and research. This is where you want to be. This is where you want to go when you want to research a specific job title. If you wanted to, for example, you wanted to do cybersecurity, type in cybersecurity, and you can definitely do that on the occupational search, quick search. Can they see this right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the occupational quick search. This is where you want to type in what type of career you want to specifically be in. Even if it's like to be a math teacher, right, or a professor in computer science, you can type that in there. Also, this is a great way to navigate, retrieve information, again, like I mentioned. And in my next move, this is an interactive tool for career explorers to learn more about their options in their chosen fields. This again is going to break it down for you. So and then on the next slide, I'm going to give you another example, but it breaks it down for you. It tells you, what type of degree you need to get, or what's the highest education level you can get. So for example, I'm sorry. This is where Professor Navis will take charge. Sorry about that, Professor Navis.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Here it is. I'm gonna hand it over to Professor Navis. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Hold on. So yeah, I kind of wanted to sort of kick off with that ONET Online, which is a career exploration that Oscar was talking about. So I'll go ahead and share my screen right now so that we can see it. And also, kind of while I'm doing this is, there's many different career search options. I'm just choosing one that I'm kind of familiar with after doing this. This is more of a way of me kind of expositing a little bit on my path as well. So I got my bachelor's, master's, PhD in math, bachelor's in applied math with a chemistry emphasis. And I was always interested in becoming an applied mathematician, an industrial applied mathematician. I got really offended one day when my older brother was asking me about what I wanted to do with a degree in math. And I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, oh, what do you want to teach? And I was like, can I do something different than teaching? It's kind of ironic that I ended up a teacher anyways. There's, from my perspective, it's like, as long as there's an interesting problem to solve, in this case, having an effective classroom, then it's something worth diving into and doing and contributing in a way. So I wanted to do industrial applied mathematics. And the thing though, is that when you're getting your degree, the focus is on your education. Right? All just, your path, your classes, your grades, everything like that. And it's like, unless you do the career exploration, unless you do the job search and figure out, you want to figure out a target that you're aiming for, even if you don't exactly know, you're trying to, when you're taking classes, especially if you're interested in a career, outside of when you graduate, which many of us are, right? School has many different purposes. You know, are we trying to get a liberal arts education to expand our horizons? Are we trying to become more critical thinkers? Are we trying to become informed voters and informed and educated citizens? But then also, are we trying to get a career to sustain our lives and our families in the future? And I think that's a pretty important and valid goal of education. But the thing is that if you're just taking classes and focusing on this the whole time, then you're not exactly going to know. Well, I should say you're gonna get your degree at the end, work so hard, and not know where to go with it, right? And it's very few companies who are just saying, you know, we're gonna take in entry-level workers who, you know, and we'll train you. You have a lot of potential because you're, you know, you got your degree in something like computer science. You've demonstrated that part, but we also want to see some skills. And so the question becomes, what skills do I need? And you're not going to know what skills are important. You're not going to know if there's different class options to take, kind of how you're going to be able to apply what you've gotten from your education. So this is the importance of doing a career search, and also the extreme importance of really trying to get internships. In computer science, there's a lot that you can do. Computer information systems, information technology, so many things that you can do along the way. It just requires a little bit of learning on the job and getting some hands-on experience. But like in the abstract, you know, we're just saying, let's do a job search. So in my case, what I would do is I would look at two different kinds of searches. It's like if I already know what I want to do, then I would just go to my or not even if you know what you're going to do, just go to whatever is employable in your region. Like say, I don't plan to travel out of state, or if you do, then you can do a search like that. But say, I need to get some work locally. You know, if I graduate from like UCR, Cal State, San Bernardino, you know, somewhere nearby, Cal Poly Pomona, you name it, then you'd want to go to somewhere like OStarNet. Like, so in this case, I would want to go to Find Occupations, and I would want to go by industry. Okay. And there's many different options that you can choose here, but this is just an example of one. And I'm just looking for something that's employability within my region. So if I'm in an industry and I want to look for, say, let's see here. The thing about computer science and computer information systems is that you can go into a lot of different ones, but I'll just take a shot at technical services. So professional, scientific, and technical services. And in this case, I would want to sort by projected growth. And let's see, I know that operations research analyst is one of the ones that that Katie and Oscar are going to present kind of near the end. We see logistics, logistics analysis, engineers. You want to find something maybe with like computer science in it. Now down here, we see web developers, web and digital interface designers, video game designers. So in my mental model of computers, I have a little bit of knowledge of this because as a math person, it's kind of hard to find industrial applied mathematics jobs. You know, basically they're hiring you as a research mathematician, so you need some programming chops. And from my kind of exploration myself, I've discovered that there's a few different fields with computer science, and web development is one of the most employable ones. Something you can always find work in, either as a freelancer or companies that are just hiring. If you're trying to become like a video game designer, that's a little bit harder to get into, and there's a lot of supply. There's a lot of really passionate coders, and the companies know that they can kind of exploit that. And so there's been some talk about unionizing these things, and it's a tricky thing. But you know, say I wanted to get into web development, you know, just because I know that I could always find work there. You know, you already see some of the skills that we can access here, and so, but these are kind of broad. So in this case, I might want to go down to say find training or find certifications. And I believe there was one where it's really just search for the job itself. There we go, find jobs down here. So if I click on that, say I want to go to the zip code, say 92521, kind of near the Riverside area. Right, then you can see what's close: Santa Fe Springs, Long Beach, Costa Mesa, Santa Ana. Well, those are all Orange County. Okay, here we go. Redlands, front-end developer. 3/18/22, March 18th was the posting. So it's like you can get a job right there. Esri, that's a technology company nearby. And you sort of see the different descriptions that they have, you know, junior web developer, web designer. You have those specializing in JavaScript, TSS senior web developer. You'll see a lot of senior positions. That's what a lot of companies are hiring for. Let me see, can I click on the next page? There we go. So let's see what the next page holds for us. Front end, you'll see front end, back end all the time. again, there goes senior web development, full stack. So that's if you do both front and back end. You're kind of like you go between the different departments in that. So let's just say we went for let's see. So if we're starting out, I'll go back to that junior web developer, web designer, and let's just say Santa Ana, just because. And Tom Ferry, who is that? Probably someone with a startup. And I wouldn't say that this is the most well written. Let's see if we can get one that's more, say, tech systems here, front end web developer. Now this is more like it, right? Because now we have different categories. We have responsibilities, requirements. And so these are the things that you want to look for when you're trying to plan out your educational path. And it's like, you don't want to specialize too early and be like, okay, I'm going to lock myself into this career. But you don't, at the same time, you don't want to just take, classes that get a bunch of breadth without ever going into that. So you'd want to look at, say, okay, mobile first development experience. So in this case, they would be developing for phones, right? What mobile apps is a very common thing to do here. So preferred qualifications. And what are the minimum qualifications here? So you see build mobile first web interfaces with HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. So those are technologies that you definitely want to be familiar with as you're going through your path. So you'd want to look for classes like that and make sure that you orient yourself around that. Any good program that you go to when you're getting your bachelor's is going to have that kind of already in it. But let's see, maybe there's things in here that are outside of that, say Adobe Experience Manager, WordPress, that's like a blogging thing. And also another thing to keep in mind for this particular one is when they're saying, where is it? Where did it go? It said mobile first web interfaces. That's not necessarily a mobile app. That's like a browser. That's like the browser version, like the phone browser version of a website. So they just want to make sure that it's compatible. Like if you're on your phone using Google Chrome, then you're basically making it so that it works really well for on the phone to use that. And yeah, so just keeping in mind the main different things here. And you might see different things, JavaScript, you'll see like, what is it, like React Native, you'll see just a bunch of different frameworks that are all essentially JavaScript in the end. So, and this is just one of them, right? So if you're doing, say, if you're working with databases, if you want to get into data science, right, there's a lot of different paths out there. The point is that you just make sure that wherever you're going with your education, with your degree, that you're still going to get those skills and that you get some experience. And again, you don't have to wait, and you shouldn't, right? You should definitely be doing this along the way and look for different resources. Another plug that I want to make is the Odin project, especially for web development. And this is something that you can kind of start to learn yourself along the way. So, and there's a bunch of different options, and this is particularly geared towards web development. But if you're just getting into general development, then there's a bunch of different resources and a bunch of commonly established ones as well. So I think with that said, I want to hand it back to Katie and Oscar. And if you have any questions, then we'll see how long the workshop goes. And I'm not sure if you're presenting, Katie, if you're muted or not.
We were unmuted. Sorry. I was just saying. I was just saying. Thank you, Professor Navis, for sharing that session. Right now, it was very informative. And similar to ONET is Occupational Outlet handbook. It's maintained by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It does the same thing as ONET. It'll show you the growth projection. It'll break down the annual wages, the average wages within for example, right here in California, as opposed to something in another state, for example. It'll compare wages in different careers. The occupation finder right here, this tab, this little red tab, or the little red circle that I have here, just provides information regarding a list of careers in alphabetical order. You also have the search handbook, similar to what we had in ONET, the quick search finder. You can search for specific careers right here via search, the search bar. Again, you can type in like what Professor Navis just explained, web developer, front end web developer, stuff like that. And then you have the occupation group. It just looks at careers by area of interest. So again, it's similar to ONET. You can definitely play with this, explore the careers, how it breaks it down for you, the type of education you might need. And again, this next slide will give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. It's not going, let me see. There it is. So for example, so field of degree, I got computer and information and technology here. Okay, I put that in the quick search bar and it breaks it down for you right here. I can't even see it through here. Is there any way I can make this bigger, Katie?
I can't, sorry.
Oh no, okay. Give me a second, I'm so sorry. So let me unmute myself really. I'm so sorry, guys. I can barely see right here. Katie's gonna actually take over right here.
Yeah, so in doing this search here, you can see the types of jobs available. So it has the big listing there of the number of jobs that are available. So over 2 million jobs are available using this field of degree. So I'm sure you already know, maybe this is why you took this route, because you know there are a lot of jobs available for you. So it also talks about people who got into this field, what types of degrees did they get? And the majority of them got a computer science degree. So it breaks down the different types of specific degrees they got. But all this is to kind of show you, you can pursue a generalized degree in computer science and still go down one of these more specific paths. Of course, that might require some more training, some more experience, maybe doing some other things on the side, but it just gives you an idea of following this degree can lead to a job in this field. And I think, is that pretty much everything you wanted to cover?
Yeah.
It just talks here about the median wage. So like Oscar said, with the Occupational Outlook handbook, what it's doing is pulling median wages from everywhere across the United States. So that includes here in California, which we have the Silicon Valley here. So we're going to have some higher wages that lead into that. And also like, say, the middle of Kansas, which probably will have a little bit lower wages. So it's giving you that median wage there. And then did you want to talk about Vita Navis or?
I mean,
okay. So the next resources that we have, and you might have already utilized this tool here because it's available for free from Reno Valley College, is called Vita Navis. So this is a career exploration tool where if you've ever done any kind of career exploration, it'll essentially ask you a bunch of questions about things that you're interested in, different skills that you have, the type of a work environment you might be interested in pursuing. And it will combine all of this together and give you some insight into the type of career that might fit you well. So if you're someone who's like, I know I want to be a full stack developer, this is what I want to do, this might not be the right tool for you, because this is something that's going to help you explore different options and give you an idea of what might work best for you. This will help you build your awareness of things that are important to you, maybe give you a little insight to your values and how that will fit in with your career path. It'll give you an option to explore pathways. I do believe it's connected with our degrees here at NBC. So if you maybe are still undecided, you haven't declared a specific degree, or you're interested in exploring something else, it can give you some suggestions on that. And it gives you just a lot of guidance and opportunities to explore different options for you here at NBC. And I think we do have at least one person from Norco as well. So this is open to all of RCCD. Make sure to check it out. You can check it out through your career center. All right, so what kind of career paths are out there for computer science majors? Well, I think there are a lot of options available to you. And the thing that I want to mention is, like when Professor Navis was looking through the degrees, a lot of these things overlap. So you might consider yourself a programmer and find yourself working in the operating systems or in the application side, or maybe doing a little bit of both. It depends on the kind of company you get into and the path and job you pursue. But we just wanted to give you an idea of what kind of overarching themes can I explore? So we have programming, where you might get into operating systems, application, maintenance, or even research and development, where you're working on exploring things like maybe working for a government entity to help them analyze their data. You have systems development. So this is going to include some planning, design. You're going to have a lot of building and coding and testing involved in these things. So these are things that might all be built into one job description, or that might be one of your sole duties that you're responsible for. Then we have network technology. So if you think about like even here at NBC, we're running off of Wi-Fi. Every single classroom has internet built in. There's someone behind the scenes who has set that all up and helps that run daily. So they help install it, they test it, they monitor it. If anyone has any issues, there's a help desk that helps take care of that. That's the kind of things that network technology is going to dive into. We also have database administration. So all of this computer stuff requires the data to go somewhere, and these are huge databases that need to be maintained. So whether that be the installation, development, and maintenance of them, archiving, integrating, all of these things are going to be involved in databases. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure a lot of you know a lot more about computer science than me, but there are like huge server rooms that contain millions and billions of information there, and someone has to help keep those running. So that's going to be a little bit of that network technology combined with that database administration. And then we have our beautiful internet, which is allowing me to present both in person and virtually right now. And someone has to help maintain those things, whether that be in web development, like Professor Navis was looking into, programming, design. I mean, there's so much that goes into keeping the internet going. Next, we have education. If you all are from NBC and taking computer science classes, I know you have taken a class with Dr. Nguyen. So you know what it's like to have someone who, they have to teach the next generation. So maybe that's something that you're interested in, teaching the next generation how to code, helping them learn programming, helping them explore their careers. That's something that might be in education. We also have instructional technology, because you all are students here. I know you've used Canvas, and there has to be people who run Canvas. So we actually have people who are called instructional technologists here. They work at the district, who work with individual faculty and staff members to keep Canvas up and running and going smoothly. So that's an idea of the types of careers you can get into education. And finally, you have good old technical support. So this might seem like a lower level of thing that, you don't need a lot of skills for, but there actually is a ton of skill that has to go into helping someone get through a technical support issue. Similar to education, you're having to have those customer service skills. You're having to walk people step through step on how to get something done. Honestly, if y'all are like me and you have an older grandparent who has no clue how to use her iPhone, you're doing technical support for them. But this is helping you build your skills. It's helping you get more in depth with the technology and understand it better. And it also might be a really good place for you to start if you're trying to build your resume. So that's just a look at some of the areas that you might be interested in. Now we're going to dive into a few of the more specific careers. And I'm going to let Oscar start with computer programming.
So computer programming. So like we were just mentioning right now, this has a lot to do with coding, scripts, Java, from my understanding. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Professor Navis, feel free to chime in if I'm forgetting something here. But this has a lot to do with Java, like with a lot of coding. A lot of this stuff is drawn up by software and web developers and other individuals. You can develop and write computer programs. Something as simple as, I remember taking a JavaScript course before, and it's something as simple as coding how to add 2 + 2 or whatever and make it pi. I can't remember exactly how it is, but this is how cool it is, right? You're just writing codes to compile something, an action from from a basic coding script, JavaScript. Again, I'm sorry, but again, feel free, Professor Navis, to chime in, or any of you guys. Again, you guys are professionals here who are building your skills in computer science. So if you feel like I'm forgetting something, please feel free to chime in. And you can develop programs here, store, locate, and retrieve specific documents, data, and information. Usually this degree, you just require a bachelor's of science in computer science / programming. Again, there's other branches to it that you can get into it. Typical work environment is mostly indoors, office settings. Average salary within the nation is 89,000, but here in California is 104K. So that's roughly around 104K, just depending, what company you work for. The job outlook for this field right now, it is pretty slow from what I saw. It's staying stagnant. But again, it's a good career to get into if you look, if you're looking at the wages and is this something you're very passionate about. Who hires computer programmers? I mean, hospitals, government office, retail chains, and schools, as Katie was mentioning right now about technical support. You'll be able to not technical support, but like Canvas, be able to write the codes for Canvas and how it works, the software that's built through it. And we have related careers to it, which is again web developers, database administrators, and software developers. So anybody have questions on this right here? Awesome. Emmanuel, you got any? All right, awesome. So our next one is operations research analyst. This one was pretty cool. You basically apply a lot of mathematical modeling and other organizing methods to develop and interpret information that assists management with decision making, policy formulation, or other managerial functions. A lot of with this degree usually requires a professional degree or a doctorate's degree. You'll have to go a bit higher than a bachelor's, but yeah, it's a lot more research involved from my understanding. And again, typical work environment is indoors, office setting. Average salary here is $86,000, and well, in the nation is $86,000, compared to California is $101K or $101,000. Job outlook for this was actually very excellent. Job projection from what I saw is to grow 25%. Again, you can correct me, Professor Navis, if I'm to see if that's right, but from what I saw is 25% from 2020 to 2030. So definitely something to look into if you guys are interested in this, in research or being an operations research analyst. A lot of the federal government, the military, and private consulting firms do hire a lot of operations research analysts. And related careers here is computer systems analyst, web administrators, software quality assurance analyst, and tester. So I'm gonna hand it off to Katie. She's gonna speak on the other ones and give you more information about the other careers, specific careers in computer science.
Awesome, thanks. So next we have the software quality assurance analyst. So these are the people who are going to actually test the software to make sure they work. If any of you have done coding, I mean, bugs are just a part of life. So you need someone who can come back, go through that code, test it, and to make sure that it's working the way you want it to work. So there's a little bit more details there if you're interested to know what QA analysts do. This is going to require a bachelor's degree. I kept this general because you might be able to find a degree that's more specific in quality assurance if that's something you're interested in. But most I see, they're just looking for a computer science degree with experience in this area. So there's more that you can do to get a little more experience. We'll talk about that later. The typical work environment, I clearly didn't update this. It's not mostly outdoors. It's mostly in the office at a desk, unfortunately, like all of these are going to be when you're working at a computer, unless you can work from home. The average salary throughout the United States is $110,000, much higher here in California with $136,000. The job outlook for this is high, which means over the next 10 years, they're going to be adding a lot of positions in this area as the demand for more software grows, the demand for more programming goes, the more people they will need to test it. So who hires these people? You have people who are designing computers, people who are designing software. Those are going to be some of the main components of people who are hiring quality assurance analysts. But you also have things like restaurants, insurance companies. I mean, pretty much anyone who has any kind of programming happening, any app that you've used, any computer website that you've used, they're going to need someone to come through and test it. You also have things like aerospace product and parts manufacturing, things where there has to be a lot of really unique details that have to be tested and ensured that they're correct. You're going to have people looking for someone who is specifically dedicated to testing it. Like with most things, a lot of these careers overlap. So some of the related careers are info security analysts, database administrators, and computer systems engineers. We wanted to bring one back that overlaps with biology. So we did this in our last presentation for biology careers, but there are a lot of overlap with people who do biology, people who do statistics, and people who do computer science. So if you have a passion for working in different STEM areas, you might be interested in looking more into biostatistics. So this would require a master's degree or higher, depending on the qualifications. And this will be in a more clinical setting or indoors. So you're going to be working in labs where people have questions about what type of medicine is going to cure the specific disease. They're going to have things that you know, a lot of these biotechnology companies are using programming to use AI to develop their software that's creating these different medicines, to create the different systems that are producing the medicines. So having that kind of overlap between biology, computer science, and math can be really useful in this area. This is another excellent Outlook job with 92,000 salary throughout the United States and 108,000 here in California. People who hire biostatisticians are going to be local government agencies, private corporations, academic institutions like UCR or any other research related institution, hospitals, and research foundations. All right, next, I'm sure everyone's always interested in video game design and special effects animators. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Special effects animators are people who create those special effects that you see in movies and video games and all sorts of things that we see every single day now. So this is something that is going to require a bachelor's degree. What's really interesting is there is a lot of computer science components to it, but there's also a very high artistic component to it. So if you're trying to pursue this route, you'll definitely want to be in a specific effects animator program, video game animation program, or have an overlap between computer science and arts. So this is again going to be an indoor office work environment. The average salary is about $77,000 throughout the United States, with $89,000 here in California. It's interesting because it says the job outlook is high, but I do know that, like Professor Navis mentioned, there are a lot of people who are looking for these kinds of jobs. So while the outlook is high, it still might be very competitive and difficult to get into this area. So who hires these types of special effects animators? It's going to be private consulting firms and companies, people who are making video games, people who are making commercials and films, any type of media related things. That's all going to be involved in that. You also have governments and schools hiring them, as special effects are now embedded into our technological lives. If this is something you're interested in, you might also be interested in graphic design, fine art, video editing, producing, directing. All of these things kind of overlap. All right, next we have software development in specific applications. I really wanted to include this one because on a couple different websites when I was doing my research, this was one of the highest job outlooks where they're planning on hiring, like, there's going to be like an increase in like 40% in the jobs in this area over the next 10 years. So I think Professor Navis was looking at something similar to this. These are people who develop, create, and modify computer application softwares or specialized utility programs. So this is focusing in on applications, and that might be in a website, it might be in a iOS, Android, some other type of format, or any other application-based area. Professor Navis, you have something to add?
Yeah, like this is when you like watch shows like Silicon Valley or just any shows where there's stereotypes about programmers and things. This is like these are the jobs in Silicon Valley that are paying, and a lot of times they'll have the job title of software engineer. It doesn't really mean you took an engineering pathway. It's more like you have a computer science degree and know the ropes with software development. You know, going from the ground up, you understand everything from the stack, the back end through the front end, and just how everything works. And these are some of the highest paying jobs. These are like, you know, the 200,000, whatever, including compensation jobs that like Google or Apple, you know, the big FANG companies, right? Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, like they'll be hiring software developers. This is kind of like the dream. And then you have kind of support roles that support the software developers. You have like DevOps, you have like the networking like administrators, things like that, that are different. But like this is the one that everybody's like, oh, this is the job I'm trying to go for, and this is like where they have the tech interviews. I just wanted to point that out, that
Yeah.
These are the highly sought after ones from students and jobs and companies alike.
Yeah, so what I hear is that although, again, the outlook is really high, it's probably going to be very competitive, very lengthy application and interview process. So definitely something to be aware of, that while, yeah, there's a ton of jobs available, everyone's trying to get into this field. So it'll definitely be competitive. This is another one of those that does right now only require a bachelor's degree. You might need some more focus, some more practice in this area, but a bachelor's degree is going to be your first route, your first step. Another indoor office, potentially at home, as things become more common to be at home and virtual. That's the kind of work environment you can expect. Average salary, again, this is calculating the lowest and the highest, averaging them throughout the United States. We have 110,000 and then 138 here in California average. So those lower levels combined with those higher levels, obviously you're going to have a huge range. So who hires these software developers? Again, you're going to have those private firms and companies. Software publishers are big ones. So Apple, Google, etc., Amazon. You're also going to have startups who are looking for help in this area. Sometimes you'll get some more benefits from joining a company that doesn't have as much stability. Sometimes you won't. Keep that in mind. Manufacturing, finance, insurance, engineering, and beyond. These are all people that are trying to break into that application area and are going to be looking for software developers. All right, last one I have is computer network architect. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the networking and how that works and the type of people who run that. Like I mentioned, we have some really great network people here at NBC who have helped set up all our local area networks, our LANs, and our wide area networks, our WANs, and help run our intranet. So these are people who will come in, set it up, troubleshoot it, manage it, maintain it, test it, and they do require a bachelor's degree. Not any specific one like I mentioned before, but you'll definitely want to get a little more hands-on approach if this is something you're planning on doing. It will require a little bit more of that hardware knowledge rather than software knowledge. This is going to be an indoor office work environment unless you happen to, I know sometimes you have like Tesla who sets up solar charging areas. Those might be a little more outdoors, but in general, you're going to be inside. So the average salary for this one is $116,000 with $134,000 here in California. So what's interesting for this is the average outlook for this job is low, meaning over the next 10 years, they're only planning on adding about 5% more jobs. So there aren't going to be a lot of new job openings. However, there are hundreds of thousands of these jobs throughout the United States available. So as people move on, as people retire, as people find different things to pursue, just because the growth isn't high doesn't mean there aren't going to be a lot of jobs available for you. Pretty much everyone uses the internet now. So who's going to hire computer network architects? Everybody. You need somebody to set it up for you and run it. And we all know the managers aren't going to do that themselves. So it's definitely a kind of job where you can find pretty much anywhere. You also have big communication companies like AT&T, Verizon, et cetera. All of those need lots of network architects. Finally, if this is something that's interested to you, there's a couple more related careers. I know a lot have overlapped. So I saw, Rian, you asked a question about software quality assurance analysts. Next, I'm going to talk about how we can get started, kind of get ourselves moving on this path. But did you feel like your question was well answered by Professor Navis?
Oh yeah, generally I think it was pretty comprehensive what he said. The fact that they have to have the same knowledge as the programmer when checking their work because they have to understand the like kind of the cycle better than the programmer, or on par. So it does make sense. It just seems a bit like ironic that the people who are checking the work of someone else are earning more money.
I mean, that's kind of how management goes. I feel you have people who oversee others and have to be responsible for their jobs tend to get paid a little more. But thank you so much for asking that question. I think that's really
yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, good outlook there.
And it's also like that, like if you're in manufacturing, like you'll have somebody who's like, say, working like, as an example, like a conveyor belt, even though that's like a stereotype about what goes on inside of a factory. And then you have the QA, so you have the factory workers who are doing like the hands-on day-to-day stuff, but then the QA is kind of like a promotion for them. And I think another thing is, I don't believe a quality assurance analyst would be necessarily higher up than, say, a software engineer. Like they would be reporting to a software engineer. But really with regards to computer programmer, like that title itself is probably, I would guess, has a little bit less responsibilities and scope than a software engineer. So that's another thing. It's kind of like the job title of computer programmer, and you'll figure this out as you're doing job searches. And you just look at like roles and responsibilities. You look at the pay, and you'll always notice that there's a significant gap between certain roles and certain job titles. And that would be one of the ones that you would notice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
And a good thing to know is if you come across a job where you're applying for it and you notice like, man, this seems to have more pay than I was expecting, or I wonder why that is, you can find ways to ask those questions when you're interviewing. Like, what kind of duties will I be expected to complete? Will I be overseeing anybody? Will I be responsible? What will I be responsible for? There are ways you can ask those kinds of questions, which will get you the answer you're looking for, which is, why the heck am I getting paid this much for this job? In a tactful way to get that kind of information on, there has to be some kind of reason. All right, so how do we get started? Many of you, like I said, might have already decided on your career path, but if you haven't and you're still trying to figure that out, you don't know exactly what your job is going to look like, we thought we would give you a few tips on how you can start building your presence, your career presence, building and networking with others. So by the time you're ready to enter the workforce, you kind of have something already established. So these are the 4 areas I'm going to go over, and I'll just dive right in with LinkedIn. If y'all can use your hands or the hand raising function, how many of you already have a LinkedIn set up? All right, so about half of us do. It's a really important tool, I believe, especially as you're moving into a computer science field. Networking is going to be a really important way for you to get some more insight onto the types of jobs that are going to be available in certain companies, on how you can best prepare yourself to be a successful candidate in the job search process for specific companies. It'll help you build your brand and kind of showcase a little bit about who you are and what you want, what you're passionate about. And it also expands your horizons by opening the door to networking with people that you may have never met with in person. So why should you use LinkedIn specifically? There's some really useful tools in LinkedIn that will help you connect with others, including alums who have graduated in years past. And once you go to a 4-year university, a lot of times they have different mixers and networking events available for you that NBC doesn't necessarily have, because we just don't have that kind of opportunity. But LinkedIn, you can actually use that to network with alums who have graduated from NBC in the past and maybe are doing a job that you have. So if you go to like the Moreno Valley College page on LinkedIn from your profile, there's a little alumni tab that you can click on. And from there, you can search by location, you can search by degree, by company, by job title, to kind of find people in that area who've graduated from NBC who are working in the company or in the job you want to work in. And from there, although I know people always feel awkward about randomly adding someone, this isn't like Instagram. The purpose of LinkedIn is to network. So in my opinion, it's totally okay to connect with someone that you don't know. And also LinkedIn won't necessarily let you just connect with someone you absolutely don't know. You have to have some kind of connection. So that kind of takes a little bit of the discomfort away. If anyone from my alum university connects with me, I always accept it, because for me, it's really important to help raise people up from the area I'm from. So I definitely recommend building your LinkedIn, starting to connect with alums who are in your area, connect with your classmates, connect with me, Oscar, Professor Navis, so you can start building that network. You can also explore companies and the different things they have to offer, get a little bit more insight of like, what are they sharing? What are they looking for? What kind of benefits do they have? And there are some people who believe that LinkedIn is the new CV. It's an opportunity, with resumes, you're supposed to keep it one page, really short, sweet, and to the point. But with LinkedIn, you have the ability to kind of list all your accomplishments and anything that you've done, and nobody will really blink an eye at that. You also have the option of joining a professional organization. This is something that you might consider, especially as a student, because the fees for joining a professional organization are much cheaper for students than they are for professionals. So here are a couple suggestions, and later on after we're done, I'll make sure to send this PowerPoint so you can click through the links if you're interested. But you have things like the Association for Computing Machinery, which is going to be generalized computer professionals. And these types of things offer job training, offer workshops, networking opportunities. They tend to have conferences that are only available to members. They also have job boards occasionally for members only, where you can kind of get some insight and a leg up on others by being a part of this organization. I don't think we have many women here today with us, but we do have the National Center for Women in Information Technology. This is going to be a women-focused professional organization for IT majors. If you're interested in going the game developer route, there is the International Game Developers Association. The Institute for Certification of Computing Professionals is interesting because their goal is to provide certifications that you've completed certain courses that they might have, or you have that you are actually certified in these specific skills that different computer science majors are looking for, whether it be like a specific type of programming or anything like that. Rian, you have a question? Go for it.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure the Association for Computing Machinery, or ACM, that's like not just one area of computer science, right? That's like generally like the computer science branch across the nation and anything related to computers.
I'm pretty sure. So I have to be fully honest with you that I'm not a computer science major, but from exploring their website, looking at what they offered and the different opportunities they have, it does seem to be a more generalized organization. And when I was looking in at their membership, I think it was $49 a year.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then you have the Computing Research Association, which is going to be more focused on actually the research component, if that's something you're interested in. And finally, I have extracurriculars and workshops and training. So extracurriculars are just a really great thing, an opportunity for you to add something else to your resume. Clubs like the Tech Club that we have here at NBC, the Technology, Engineering, Computation Club, and I have a QR code here. If you're interested in learning more about them, that's straight to their Discord. They're actually hosting various workshops right now on iOS app programming, on computer hardware repair, like things like this, where you get some hands-on experience. You get to note that you've taken this workshop. They're also working on giving some LinkedIn badges. So if you complete the workshop, you would actually get to add a badge to your LinkedIn profile saying you completed it. So once you transfer to a four-year university, there are lots more clubs available to you. Unfortunately, at NBC, this is the only computer-related club we have here, but it's always good to kind of have that in your back door. It also allows you to do some more networking. You might consider pursuing some personal projects. Hackathons are a great way to kind of practice your coding in a more specific way, I suppose you can say. There's always a specific project that you have to complete when you're part of a hackathon. I know the Makerspace just completed one. UCR has a big hackathon that goes on, and the Tech Club is actually working on an RCCD-wide hackathon, so it might be something you consider doing. Maybe you want to do a workshop. You want to run your own workshop on teaching people how to do something specific that you found you're pretty good at. That's another great thing you can add to your resume. There's also something called citizen science, which is a really interesting thing you can do. If you're kind of interested in that research route, you might consider looking up what citizen science is. And essentially what it is people put out all sorts of projects that they're trying to complete that might be grant funded or might be personal, and they're looking for help on them. So if you want to kind of flex your research muscles, you can always apply to be a part of a citizen science job. And then finally, we have research. So a great thing about being an undergraduate is you can apply for internships or REUs, which are research experience for undergrads, and not need a lot of experience to do that. So make sure you check that out. You can get paid for some of these. You can just get some experience. You can network. There are a lot of options that are available to you if you take an internship route. Again, citizen science is another great option if you want to get some research under your belt. And then we do have some things going on at NBC. If you're really interested in kind of getting some experience and working with someone, ask Dr. Nguyen if she has a project that she's working on that she needs some help with. I know Dr. Joanna is always running some different projects. Maybe she needs a computer science aspect to it. Kind of be open to exploring different options and putting yourself out there. This will help you build your resume and make you a stronger candidate. And then finally, lots of workshops and training. Computer science degrees are very generalized degrees. If you want to learn more specific skills, you might consider joining a boot camp. These tend to be like shorter class style presentations that you have to pay for. I know UCR has a couple of boot camps, but it will give you targeted information in specific areas like web developing, a specific area programming like HTML5, Java, etc. And it will just help build your resume and skill set. These also tend to have certifications attached to them, showing that you completed the program. And then there are lots of workshops available through the Makerspace and Tech Club. Those are free things available through here. UCR is often posting free workshops they have available. Just coming here, you're welcome to put this on your LinkedIn that you were exploring your career. These are just all things to help show that you are open to exploring your options. And finally, I just have some quick resources for you. If you're interested more in Vita Navis, exploring your career, getting some counseling, please visit the MBC Career Center or your local career center at your college. Those people are there to help you explore your careers. You have things like computerscience.org. It's a really general website, but it has a lot of information, webinars, job search advice. I love looking at other universities' career center resources because they have it all built up. It's easy to access and it's free to check online. So you can always check that out. Another website I wanted to include is CA Career Zone. So this is similar to ONET, like I have listed below, an Occupational Outlet handbook, but this is specific to California. So if you want to know just specifically what kind of jobs are growing in California, what the average needs are for those in California, what the specific salaries for California are, check out CA Career Zone. And then finally, check out our STEM Center Canvas online. I try to post a ton of resource information for you. I try to keep all my events current on there for you. And it's just a good tool for you to have. And I've talked a whole lot. Here's our information, our social media, and what questions do you have? I'm going to open the chat here. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Rachel, for including the Tech Club flyer. Yes, I have been putting all the presentations and recordings up on our STEM Center Canvas. So if you actually go to the STEM Center Canvas, if you're logged into your Canvas, you can add yourself as a student to a part of our class. There won't be any assignments, I promise.